Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Functional Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, live better. I'm your host, Chris Borda, best-selling author and owner of Y.E.S Fitness. Let me first thank you for taking the time from your busy day to listen to what I have to say. Before I go any further, let me also thank our sponsor, Y.E.S Fitness. Most people lose the ability to enjoy life as they age. At Y.E.S Fitness, we help people age 40 plus get fit so they can live longer and enjoy those years doing the things they love to do. Real quick housekeeping here. If you want to get a timestamp or a transcript of today's broadcast, head on over to yesfitnessct.com. You'll find a button on the top that says podcasts. Click on that drop down. It'll give you access to any of our now 411 episodes. You can also get this broadcast wherever podcasts can be found. The muscle mistake that's aging you faster. Let me ask you a question. Imagine two people who are both 70 years old. One struggles to get out of a chair without using their hands, while walking up a flight of stairs leaves them winded. Carrying groceries feels like a workout. They're careful every time they step off a curb because they're worried about falling. Now imagine another 70-year-old. They hike with their family. They carry their own luggage through the airport. They play with their grandkids on the floor. They work in the yard. They travel. They don't spend much time wondering whether there's things they can do or can't do. They simply do it. So what's the difference? Most people would say genetics. Some would say luck. Others would assume that one person exercised more than the other. But a remarkable new study that followed 150,000 adults for as long as 30 years suggests something we've been talking about here for years. The difference may come down to muscle. Now, before anyone misunderstands me, this isn't about building bigger arms. This isn't about looking like a bodybuilder. This isn't about spending 6 days a week in the gym. This is about building a body that can keep you saying yes to life. For decades, we've heard one message over and over: walk more, do your cardio, protect your heart. And I agree with every bit of that. Walking is one of the best habits you can have. Cardio is incredibly important. But here's the muscle mistake that aging so many people faster than they realize. They stop there. They never challenge their muscles. They assume strength training is only for athletes or younger people or people trying to build muscle for appearance. Nothing could be further from the truth. This new research suggests that resistance training may be one of the most valuable things you can do to improve not just your strength, but your ability to stay independent for decades. Today, we're going to unpack this fascinating study. We're going to talk about why muscle may be one of the greatest predictors of how well you age, why you don't need to live in the gym to benefit from this, why cardio and strength training are teammates instead of competitors. And I'm going to explain why I believe muscle isn't about looking younger. It's about living younger. Because after coaching adults for more than 35 years, I've learned something. People don't come to Y.E.S Fitness because they want impressive biceps. They come because they want to keep living their lives. They want to carry the grandchildren. They want to travel, play golf, garden, walk on the beach, get up off the floor, stay in their homes. Keep doing the things they love. It's simple. They want freedom. And muscle may be the greatest protectors of that freedom. So let's get into the study that changed the conversation. What immediately caught my attention about this research wasn't just the results. It's how long it lasted. Researchers followed 150,000 adults, not for 6 weeks, not for 6 months, not even for 5 years, for as long as 30 years. It's a long time for research, 30 years. Think about that, 30 years. That means they weren't studying a quick fitness challenge. They were studying habits, because longevity isn't built by what you do for 30 days. Longevity is built by what you continue doing for 30 years. Every few years, the participants reported how much resistance training they were doing, along with how much aerobic exercise they performed. That matters. The research didn't simply ask one question at the beginning of the study and assume everyone stayed the same for 3 decades. They kept updating the information. That's much closer to real life. Participants were divided into groups. Some did no resistance training. Some trained less than 30 minutes each week. Others trained about around an hour. Others trained for 90 minutes. Some trained for more than 2 hours. Then researchers compared those exercise habits with long-term health outcomes. The results are fascinating. Even people who strength trained for less than 30 minutes per week had a lower risk of dying than people who didn't strength train at all. Think about that. Less than 30 minutes. That's encouraging. It doesn't have to take that long, because one of the biggest excuses people give me is, I don't have time. We're talking about less than 30 minutes here. If the person who's programming knows what they're talking about, 30 minutes. This study says you don't need endless hours. You just need consistency. As weekly strength training increased, the benefits generally increased too. The strongest association with longevity occurred in people doing about 90 to 130 minutes of resistance training each week, roughly 2 hours. Not 2 hours every day, 2 hours a week, 3 40-minute workouts, or 4 30-minute workouts. That's it. That's a goal almost anyone can work towards. Now, here's something important. The researchers noticed that after about 2 hours each week, the benefits appeared to level off. That doesn't mean more exercise is bad. It simply means you don't have to train like a competitive bodybuilder to enjoy meaningful health benefits. And honestly, I love that message, because one of the biggest obstacles to exercise isn't over motivation, it's overwhelm. People think they can't work out every day. Why bother? I just can't do it. This study reminds us that doing something consistently beats doing everything occasionally. That's a lesson that applies far beyond the gym. Why does this study matter so much to me and so much to the industry, so much to you? You know what I found most interesting? The study wasn't really about muscles. It was about life. It was about staying alive longer, staying healthy longer, reducing the risk of heart disease, protecting the brain, maintaining independence. That's why this matters. This isn't fitness for fitness' sake. This is fitness for life. And that's exactly what functional longevity has always been about. Muscle, think of muscle, it's your retirement account. And one phrase keeps coming back to me as I was reading this study. Probably you've heard it from other people say it. I say it. Muscle is the organ of longevity. It's a longevity organ. I understand what that means, right? Muscle helps regulate blood sugar. It supports metabolism. It protects your bones. It helps prevent falls. It improves insulin sensitivity. It does a lot more than simply move your body. But after coaching adults for more than 35 years, I've come to think about muscle a little bit differently. I think muscle is your retirement account. Stay with here for a minute, okay? When you're younger, you probably didn't think much about retirement. You don't feel like you need it, but every paycheck, you make a deposit. Not because you need the money today, because one day you're going to. Strength training works exactly the same way. Every workout is another deposit. Every squat, every push-up, every row, every deadlift, every walk carrying groceries. Every time you challenge your muscles, you're making another deposit into an account you'll eventually need. Because here's the reality. Life is going to make withdrawals. You don't get to choose whether those withdrawals happen. You only get to decide how prepared you will be when they do. Maybe it's the flu. Maybe it's COVID. Maybe it's pneumonia. Maybe it's a knee replacement. Maybe it's a shoulder surgery. Maybe it's a fall. Maybe it's simply another birthday. For me, it was another hernia surgery in my early 60s. Every one of those events asks your body one question: how much reserve have you built? If you spent years making deposits, you can handle those withdrawals. If you haven't, the same event can completely change the direction of your life. And that's exactly why strength training matters. Not because you're trying to impress someone at the gym, because you're preparing for a future version of yourself. So here's the difference between surviving and thriving. One thing I wish more people understood is this: aging doesn't usually happen in a straight line. Most people imagine getting older like walking down a gentle, gradual hill, little by little, year after year. That's not what I see. What I see are sudden drops. Someone gets the flu, they spend a week in bed, then another week sitting in a recliner, then they're afraid to move because they feel so weak. Suddenly, walking across the room feels difficult. Getting out of a chair becomes harder. The balance isn't quite what it used to be. One illness, one surgery, one injury. It can change everything, especially if there wasn't much muscle reserve to begin with. I've seen it happening. And unfortunately, many people assume that's just part of getting older. It isn't. It doesn't have to be. It's often a result of not having enough strength in reserve. That's one reason why I encourage people not to wait. Don't wait until your doctor tells you to exercise. Don't wait until you fall. Don't wait until your back hurts every morning. Don't wait until climbing the stairs feels impossible. Build that reserve now, because someday you'll be glad you did. That reminds me of one of our clients, Ann. When Ann first came to Y.E.S Fitness, she wasn't trying to become an athlete. She wasn't chasing a six-pack. She wasn't interested in lifting the heaviest weights in the room. She had a much more meaningful goal. She wanted to carry her grandchild without her back hurting. Think about that for a minute. That's not a gym goal. That's a life goal. She wanted to pick up the person she loved most without worrying whether she'd pay for it the next day. So we went to work. Not by doing anything fancy, not by beating her up with impossible workouts. We focused on building strength, improving movement, getting her body working the way it was designed to work. Week after week, month after month, little improvements, consistent effort. You didn't get out of shape overnight, you're not going to get in shape overnight. And something amazing happened. She started carrying her grandchild again without fear, without back pain, without wondering if she'd regret it later. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Did you just build strong muscles? Did we just build them? Yes. But we built something much bigger than that. We built confidence, freedom, the ability to say yes, because that's what strength training really gives you. More movements with people you love. You can't measure that on a weight machine, but it's probably the greatest benefit strength training has to offer. So let's think of muscle. It's insurance. When people buy homeowners insurance, they're not hoping their house catches fire. When they buy health insurance, they're not hoping they get sick. Insurance exists because bad things eventually happen. Strength training is exactly the same. You're not lifting weights because you expect to get sick. You're not lifting weights because someday you're going to get sick. You're going to fall. You're lifting weights because someday something unexpected is going to happen. Life always throws us curveballs. The question isn't if, it's when. Strength gives you options. It gives you a bigger safety net. It gives your body more to work with when life becomes difficult. That's one reason this study makes so much sense to me. The researchers weren't measuring who had the biggest muscles. They were measuring who consistently challenged the muscles over decades. That's a huge difference because consistency builds resilience, not perfection, resilience. And resilience may be one of the greatest gifts you can give your future self. There's another point I want to make because it often gets overlooked. Strength training isn't just building muscle, it's improving balance. It strengthens connective tissue. It's preserving bone density. It is improving coordination. It teaches your nervous system how to react faster. It helps you recover from a stumble before it becomes a fall. Think about how many times you've caught yourself from falling. That happens because your muscles reacted quickly enough. As we age, that reaction becomes slower. Power declines even faster than strength. And that's why we don't just train people to get stronger at Y.E.S Fitness. We train them to move better, to react faster, to stay capable. Because getting stronger is great. Staying independent is even better. Now, let me talk to you about something that's happened every time a study like this comes out. People immediately want to know, so which is better, cardio or strength training? My answer is, that's the wrong question. This study actually found that aerobic exercise had an even stronger association with longevity than resistance training alone. Does that surprise me? Not at all. Your heart matters. Your lungs matter. Your cardiovascular system matters. Walking, cycling, swimming, hiking, playing pickleball, those activities improve your endurance, your heart health, your brain health, and your ability to keep moving throughout life. But here's what cardio can't do. It can't fully replace strength training. Walking doesn't challenge your muscles the same way resistance training does. It doesn't build the same strength. It doesn't preserve muscle mass nearly as well. It doesn't maintain your bone density the same way. It doesn't improve your ability to pick up your grandchild or get off the floor or carry a heavy suitcase through the airport. That's why I never want people to think this is a cardio versus strength. It's cardio and strength. Think about building a house. Cardio is your electrical system. Strength is the frame. Which one would you rather leave out? You need both. One keeps the lights on. The other keeps the house standing. The healthiest people I've coached over the past 30 years don't choose between the two. They make room for both. So if someone walked into Y.E.S Fitness tomorrow and asked me, Chris, what should I do? Here's exactly what I would tell them. First, walk often. Walk because your heart loves it. Your brain loves it. Your joints love it. Walking is one of the greatest habits you can build. Second, strength train for 2 to 3 days every week. Remember, this study found the sweet spot was around 90 to 120 minutes each week. That's achievable. Third, don't just train strength. Train movement. At Y.E.S Fitness, we don't separate strength from life. We train squats because someday you'll need to stand up from a chair. We train rows because you'll always need to pull something towards you. We train carries because life is full of carrying things, groceries, suitcases, laundry baskets, grandchildren. We train balance because fall steal independence. We train power because catching yourself after a subtle stumble happens in a fraction of a second. We train mobility because strength without movement isn't enough. Everything we do has one purpose, helping you stay capable. Because capable people stay independent longer. There's one more myth I'd like to bust. People think strength training has to leave them exhausted. They think every workout has to crush them. If they're not sore, they didn't accomplish anything. I couldn't disagree more. The goal isn't to destroy your body. The goal is to build your body. There are two very different things. Those are very different. I want you to finish your workout feeling you've challenged yourself, not punished yourself. The strongest people I know aren't the ones who train the hardest for a month. They're the ones who train consistently for years. Remember, participants in the study weren't successful because they had one amazing workouts. They benefited because strength training became part of who they were. That's the lesson. Non-intensity, consistency. When people ask me what functional longevity means, This is what I tell him. It means having a body that's ready for life, ready to carry groceries, ready to climb stairs, ready to shovel snow, ready to play 18 holes of golf, ready to chase your grandchildren, ready to hike that trail you've always wanted to hike, ready to recover from a surgery, ready to bounce back from illness, ready to travel, ready to get up after all, ready for whatever life asks of you. Because it's something I've learned after 35 years of coaching. Nobody wakes up one morning and suddenly becomes frail. It happens one small loss at a time. A little less strength, a little less balance, a little less confidence, until eventually people stop doing the things they once loved. Not because they don't want to, because they don't think they can anymore. That's what we're fighting against. Not aging, giving up. I want to leave you with one thought. The study we talked about today followed people for 30 years. 30 years. That's a powerful reminder that longevity isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in an ordinary one. It's built in a decision to go for a walk, to show up for a workout, to pick up a weight, to challenge yourself just a little more than you did last week. Those small decisions, repeated over months, years, and decades, become the foundation of the life you want to live. You've probably heard people say muscle is the organ of longevity. Maybe they're right. But after spending more than 3 decades helping adults get stronger, I think muscle is something even more meaningful. It's freedom. Freedom to travel without worrying about your body. Freedom to get up off the floor with your grandkids and know you'll get back up. Freedom to say yes to the hike, to the vacation, to the game of golf, to bike ride, to work in the garden in the afternoon. Freedom to recover whatever life inevitably throws at you when it's a curveball. Freedom to stay in the home you love. Freedom to remain independent. That's what we're really training for. Not big muscles, a bigger life. Because at the end of the day, no one has ever sat across from me and said, Chris, I wish I had smaller muscles. But I have had countless people tell me, I wish I had started sooner. Don't let that be your story. Start where you are. Do what you can. Stay consistent. Your future self will thank you. If you found today's episode helpful, share it with someone who wants to stay strong, capable, and independent as they age. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Functional Longevity Podcast. Remember, getting older isn't inevitable. Getting weaker is not. With the right training, the right guidance, and the right mindset, you can continue getting stronger, moving better, and living the life you want for decades to come. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Functional Longevity Podcast. If today's episode gave you hope or changed the way you think about aging, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Leave a review and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Until next time, keep moving, keep challenging yourself, and keep investing in the future because the best version of you may still be ahead. And I'll be back next week with more information on how to get fit, feel younger, live better.